Episode 3: The Times That Try Men's Souls.
And as that revolution spread throughout the colonies, thousands of Americans, patriots and loyalists alike, would be driven from their homes.
That's so sad.
Since Lucy made her appearance just after the Declaration, Betsy recalled, their father called her his only independent child.
That's funny.
Both the British and the Americans had considered New York and the farming communities that bordered it to be loyalist strongholds. For weeks, patriots had prowled the streets, roughing up loyalists.
Why? Why are we trying to beat up our neighbors just because they have different political views?
And imprisoned in an abandoned copper mine, 70 feet below the earth.
70 feet?
Troops are daily coming in. They break open the houses they find shut up to quarter themselves. Necessity knows no law.
Well, yeah, if you cause people to feel like they can't voice their opinions without being ridiculed or beat up or whatever, then of course people are going to leave or hide or just shut up completely so they don't get killed for their own points of view.
When we really take a look at what these regiments were like, we see a lot of individuals who are not carrying arms, including women, including children, including servants, medical personnel, chaplains, and there are all kinds of individuals there that are essential parts of these armies that are doing essential labor, without whom I think the army couldn't operate.
Yeah, people in war, people usually just think about the soldiers, commanders, officers, captains. Like, people just think of the actual men and women fighting with guns or swords or whatever, right? But it's not just those people that are in war, it's also the people that are working behind the scenes, or sometimes literally on the field. Chaplains, nurses, sometimes even just normal civilians who just want to help out. Those people should also be commended for, respected, and acknowledged.
Within the fort, Patriot Colonel William Moultrie ordered his men to distress the enemy in every shape to the utmost of your powers. They did. They had just 31 guns, but they proved deadly accurate.
Only 31?
Blowing sailors and sea captains apart. The British flagship alone was hit 70 times.
Golly.
The Royal Proclamation of 1763 had expressly barred colonists from purchasing or moving onto Indian lands west of the Appalachians. But British officials had been powerless to enforce it, or to keep some Native Americans, including Dragging Canoe's own father, from leasing or selling land to settlers and speculators.
The British government had kept them from taking native lands. So for the Shawnees and the Delawares, Cherokees, and many other people, the American Revolution was a war to protect these places against an enemy they already knew quite well.
So with the British being occupied, the Americans and the Indians are able to sell, negotiate, take land, gain more property.
Dragging Canoe would not listen to the British or to the elders of his father's generation who had urged diplomacy. He rallied the young men and went to war.
Another war within the war?
The result is, as the older chiefs feared it would be, that those American colonies immediately send armies into Cherokee country.
Well, I did say take. It wasn't very peaceful.
In the end, older Cherokee leaders would sue for peace and be forced to cede another 5 million acres.
The
great job.
colonists wanted to possess that land exclusively.
Instead of striving for peace, you created more war, more fighting, and here are the consequences.
Dragging Canoe would not surrender. With hundreds of men and their families, he managed to escape westward, to settle along the Chickamauga Creek, in what is now Tennessee, where he remained defiant. I could not hear their talks of peace, Dragging Canoe said. My thoughts and my heart are for war.
Why, though? Why? What can you gain from that, besides death? Because of your actions, you literally just gave land to the Americans. Okay.
The helmets worn by their grenadiers and fusiliers that added a foot to their height, and a reputation for ferocity so widespread that some Americans believed them cannibals with a special taste for babies.
What?
General William Howe and his brother Richard were in joint command of the largest seaborne assault force Britain had ever assembled. 24,000 soldiers, including the 8,600 Hessians and 400 ships, manned by some 10,000 sailors and Marines.
That's a lot of ships.
General Washington reminded his men of the dismissive things British officers had said of them. Now they would have a chance to prove them wrong, provided they remained cool but determined.
Cool, considerate men.
4 passes cut in or around it: Gowanus, Flatbush, Bedford, and Jamaica. With Washington's approval, Putnam ordered 3,000 of his men to dig in and hold the ridge and 3 of the passes. Unaccountably, the Jamaica Pass remained virtually unguarded.
I was about to say, what about that road?
The horrors of battle then presented themselves to my mind in all their hideousness. I must come to it now, thought I. Joseph Plum Martin.
Private Joseph Plum Martin of the Connecticut Militia was just 15 years old that summer.
He was 15? Oh my gosh. Surely some of these people were just children. Literal children.
The British attacks on the American right and center, which Washington's army seemed to have thwarted, had turned out to be mere demonstrations, meant to occupy troops.
I swear, why did they not block that area? Why did they not block that road? I mean, there's literally some men right there. Why could they not just have had, like, I don't know, inched up a few to block that area?
This is Clinton's idea. He's persuaded Howe that this is the right way to do it. Don't attack frontally. You don't want another Bunker Hill. Go around them. So he leads the better part of 10,000 men in the dark of night, very quietly, as quiet as 10,000 men pulling artillery guns with horses can be.
Yeah. Define quiet.
General Clinton ordered 2 guns fired in quick succession, a signal for British troops besieging the American right and center to move forward simultaneously.
Oh my gosh. Quite the ambush.
But as they struggled to do so, Hessian Grenadiers and Highland Scots swarmed up and over the Gowanus Heights, firing and bayoneting as they came. It was a rout.
That's awful. Just one mistake, one road overlooked, and these are the consequences.
Their fear of the Hessian troops was indescribable, the German commander, General Heister, remembered.
When they caught only a glimpse of us, they surrendered immediately and begged on their knees for their lives. I am surprised that the British troops have achieved so little against these people.
Because you only had like one battle so far.
He urged his men to retreat to the village of Brooklyn, across the tidal marshes that flanked Gowanus Creek.
Such as could swim got across. Those that could not swim sunk. The British were pouring the canister and grape shot upon the Americans like a shower of hail.
Gosh, it's awful. Ugh.
Washington watched this final carnage through his spyglass.
He could see all that from where he was.
Washington is heartbroken because he recognizes.
I'm heartbroken just hearing that. I cannot imagine seeing that in real time.
We were strictly enjoined not to speak or even cough. All orders were communicated in whispers.
What if you accidentally sneeze?
And then an even more providential fog rolls in, and it obscures what's happening.
Oh, was this the miracle I was talking about in my reaction? I think it was to 1776. I talked about a miracle that I thought happened with George Washington and his army.
They see the last of the boats disappearing across the river in the traces of fog. They fire a few shots pointlessly at this retreating gaggle, including Washington, one of the last boats. And the Americans escape to Manhattan Island and get away to fight another day.
Yeah, I think this was the miracle I was talking about.
It had been a devastating defeat for George Washington and the Patriot cause. But his army was still alive.
I mean, that's all that matters, right? Being alive is pretty good, I would say.
Women acted as spies, and a handful disguised themselves and fought as men until they were found out.
Wow, that's impressive.
The men say we have no business with political matters. It is not in our sphere. But I won't have it thought that we are capable of nothing more than minding the dairy, visiting the poultry house, and all such domestic concerns. Our thoughts can soar aloft. We can form conceptions of things of higher nature. Eliza Wilkinson.
Women worked just as hard as men. Maybe not in exactly the same ways, but women sacrificed just as much to make this whole situation work.
Slave rebellions were usually unsuccessful. So you wonder, why would you fight? Slavery was so incredibly horrifying. It was a regime of terror, right? That was very, very difficult to withstand.
You would do everything in your power to get out of that kind of situation. Whether you live or die, doesn't matter. Living is already pretty bad, so might as well try, and if you die, well, it's not any worse than being a slave.
At 11 o'clock in the morning, on September 15th, they opened fire.
Hello. The sound in this TV show is really good. It's just loud sometimes.
Among them, Hessians who bayoneted several wounded Americans and mutilated the dead.
Ew, why?
Once the Continental Army is driven out, the Patriots don't want to stick around, and they tend to go too. Meanwhile, the Loyalists come into the city. People stream in from the countryside to take shelter, and the city becomes this kind of garrison town.
Great. Tell me how you really feel.
By signing a document they called their Declaration of Dependence.
Of dependence? How clever.
Over the course of the war, as many as 50,000 Americans volunteered to serve in Loyalist militia companies or in...
50,000? That's a lot of people.
Everyone knew someone who fought for the other side. Even Benjamin Franklin's son William, the deposed royal governor of New York.
Oh, yeah.
A lot is riding on George Washington's performance, not only in the battlefield, but in his relationship with Congress, in his relationship with the states, in his relationship with his soldiers.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
He has to project dignity. He has to project authority. He has to also do this while projecting deference to Congress. He cannot become a dictator.
Can you imagine having to juggle all of that while a war is going on? That is so much. I cannot imagine the amount of pressure that was on his shoulders.
Congress debated draft articles for weeks on the first floor of the Pennsylvania State House, where they had just declared independence in July.
I was about to say, didn't you all just agree on an historical document, and now you can't agree on the Articles of Confederation now?
People were committed to using the revolution to make it a real social revolution, a real economic revolution, and get free working people, us men, white men, a say in government, which was a radical idea at the time. John Adams wasn't for that. When John Adams read that Constitution, his response was, quote, "Good God."
That's it. He was so speechless, he only said 2 words.
Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husbands. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation.
Well, women can be tyrants too, though. Not just men.
Women will demand a vote. Lads from 12 to 21 will think their rights not enough attended to.
It is crazy that for the majority of history, women had very little agency to do what they wanted to do. They couldn't do anything or be anything. They just did what they were told.
Now that the Americans had seen how futile it was to defy British regulars, they would surely come to their senses and sue for peace. Not all English.
Yeah, I'm sure they thought that. You wish.
The smallpox threat was lifting, but thousands still suffered from other diseases.
Lovely. Just can't win here.
But at 7 o'clock, while fog covered the lake and Carleton and his officers were dining below deck, Arnold formed his battered ships into a single line.
Why are they dining? You're in the middle of a battle.
To glide slowly past the British squadron. When Carleton finally caught up with...
This is the second time Americans have sneaked off.
With little to do, soldiers on both sides went into the surrounding countryside, where they plundered homes, terrified civilians, and then burned their houses to cover up their crimes.
Why? Just why are we involving innocent civilians?
The Hessian and the American generals all worry about that. Washington worries about that. His men plunder, and he's like, can you stop? Please don't do this. You're alienating the people.
Yeah, idiots.
Margaret Corbin, a Pennsylvania artilleryman's wife, was standing near her husband when he was mortally wounded.
Oh my gosh.
And kept up such deadly fire that her position became a target for Hessian guns. Grape shot eventually hit her jaw and breast and rendered her left arm useless.
Oh no.
3 years later, she would become the first woman to receive a lifetime disability pension, but at half the rate wounded men received.
Wow, she...
American muskets.
I don't know what to do, just clap? Like, oh my gosh. I salute to you, ma'am. Golly. That's a brave woman right there. Could you imagine your husband just collapsing right next to you? You know, no, I don't want to think about it. The amount of emotional, mental, and physical pain that woman had to go through, she just deserves all the applause, all the respect. Oh my gosh.
From Howe's vantage point, there was no need for another major battle. The rebel army was shrinking daily. What one officer called the devil of desertion had infected Washington's ranks.
They're like, we don't want to be involved anymore.
To compound things, Washington's second-in-command, General Charles Lee, who had been stationed in Westchester County with a sizable force, responded to Washington's repeated requests to hurry to his aid with one excuse after another. Lee was scornful of Washington, hoped someday to replace him as commander-in-chief, and saw himself as not subject to Washington's orders.
You both are working together to win a war. Why do you want to be... Why? Just why? Is really now the time to be jealous of someone else's position over your own?
The people who were really at the sharp end of the sword were the civilians. And if you think from the point of view of somebody, say a mother of a family who's on her farm, you know that the very little that you have to survive can be destroyed in an instant.
That's awful.
And strip poor women and children of everything they have to eat or wear.
It's terrible.
The brutes often ravish the mothers and daughters and compel the fathers and sons to behold their brutality.
We see lots of instances of rape and sexual assault of women. Sadly, this is not unusual in all wars.
Mary Campbell of Hunterdon County, New Jersey, told a judge what British troops had done to her.
I don't want to know.
Saith that sometime in December, a number of soldiers belonging to the King of Great Britain's army came to the house of her father.
I do not want to know. Terrible, awful, just, disgusting behavior.
General Charles Lee had finally given in to Washington's entreaties and had been slowly leading his force across New Jersey.
Well, good for you.
Dragoons surrounded the building and seized the Continental Army's second-in-command. One Hessian captain was exultant. "We have captured the only rebel general whom we had cause to fear."
Well, that's not good.
He writes his brother at one point and says, I think the game is pretty near up. He doesn't let his men know that he's feeling that despondent, but he's feeling pretty glum.
Yeah, things look really dark.
General William Alexander, who had been freed from British captivity, arrived with 1,000 ragged reinforcements. 1,000 Philadelphia militia appeared. General John Sullivan also...
All these new recruits coming in, it sounds like the end of a Hollywood movie where everything looks really, really dark and dire, and then suddenly hope comes in, whether it's like the king or a group of soldiers or friends or family. Like, you know that moment in the movie where everything is terrible, then suddenly hope arrives to save the day.
These are the times that try men's souls.
The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman.
It goes to show that writers are just as important as soldiers to help win a war. Because sure, yes, fighting is important, but it's also important to feel inspired as well. Because if there's no soul or morale along with all the fighting and violence, then what's the point of winning?
But as good luck always attended me, Sergeant Madden came to me and aroused me up and made me walk about.
2 other soldiers did fall asleep and froze to death.
What a way to go.
My mother and we children hid in the cellar to escape the shots that fell about the house. Our next-door neighbor was killed on his doorstep, and a bullet struck the blacksmith as he was in the act of closing himself in his cellar. And many other townspeople were injured by chance shots.
All these poor civilians, they're just minding their own business, living their lives, or trying to live their lives, and then you have this war just hit your town, and now you have to go hide and hope you don't get killed. Like, it's terrible.
It was all over in less than 45 minutes.
Well, that's good.
Perhaps a quarter of the 23,000 Hessian soldiers who survived the war would choose to stay on afterwards and become citizens of the new nation they'd fought against creating.
You're like, please don't send me back to that government. They sent me here to die. Can I just stay here?
The Continental Regiments for New England, his most disciplined, most seasoned soldiers, were all planning to go home in just 5 days, leaving him with 1,400 men, with which to face what he feared would be a swift reprisal from the enemy.
1,400 men? My gosh.
He praised his men for their courage, one sergeant recalled, and in the most affectionate manner entreated us to stay. But when he finished, and the drums beat for volunteers, not a single man stepped forward. Washington. This time, the sergeant remembered, the soldiers felt the force of the appeal. One said to another, "I will remain if you will." A few stepped forward, and their example was immediately followed by nearly all who were fit for duty.
So he just needed to have a second speech ready, just in case. Give them a little bit more encouragement.
Thanks to the sacrifices he and his fellow soldiers had made, and the victory they had won, when no victory had seemed possible.
Man, the episode was a lot of fighting, a lot of battles, and it's not even over. I still have 3 more episodes to go.